Welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports, and today we're going to do a bike profile on Sean's bike. And Sean is also here for a podcast, and Sean is going to be race across America, solo, all the way across.
Hopefully all the way across.
All the way across.
My intention is to make it all the way across.
That's right, that's right. So let's talk about your bike. This is one of how many in your repertoire? For this race?
I have 3 bikes for this race.
3 bikes for this race. Does that mean 2 road bikes and 1 TT?
I have a TT bike, my road bike, and a backup bike, which is just a cyclocross bike built like a road bike. So it just covers the gamut.
And the cyclocross bike, just why? Bigger tires or any particular reason?
It was my only other bike with a round seat post.
Right. Yes, we started talking about that. All right, so let's talk about what this is. This is a time what? What do they call this one?
It's a time ALPE HUEZ.
ALPE HUEZ. Okay, so they're climbing bike. They're lightweight bike, right?
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Yep. So back quite a few years now, ALPE HUEZ always represented their lightest weight bike. And now they just use, I think, ADH as
another version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like their cyclocross bike, their gravel bike, they're all ALPE HUEZs now.
Okay. So let's talk about this one as in where is this in the chronological last rim brake offering? Where is this in that lineup? Is it pretty close to the last one available?
In their lineup, you can't buy them anymore. They're discontinued.
Okay.
And so a bike shop in Canada had bought all the time stock left.
Yeah.
I got one through them, and I know that bike shop from being Canadian.
Yep.
And this is one of the last, unless you buy a China frame, last rim brake, sort of real quality rim brake frame sets.
Now,
anywhere.
For the longest time, they've made their own carbon fiber and a resin technology, blah, blah, blah. When you say China, are you saying those bikes are not using that same methodology?
Time doesn't use that. Time builds the frame 100% in-house.
Yep.
But by that I mean, there's a lot of sort of open mold designs that are just covered the gamut. So like an eBay frame set or the $400 carbon frame set.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about some specific choices that you're like, these were, if I didn't have this, it was a deal breaker. Let's talk about what you got going on here. Anything specific about this handlebar that you chose? What model is it and why you chose it?
Well, so this is a Ritchie WCS Logic Curve Carbon.
Yep.
I chose these many, many years ago,
right.
And it's hard to choose them again because they've discontinued it. So it's only in aluminum in I think their lowest tier.
Yeah.
So I have a few sets of these at home that have been over the years collected to make sure I have them in the future.
We all end up with stockpiles of our favorite stuff.
Yeah, and then so I've for years used Ritchie Super Logic stems on my bikes.
Yeah.
For the race, I may not have this stem because it's a C260 design, so you have to slide it quite a ways off, and I don't want my crew to have any issues if I need to swap a stem.
Yeah.
So I'll use a Ritchie 4-axis stem for the race.
That's the standard 180 split.
Exactly.
Instead of a 260. And for those who are not aware what this stem is like, if you can imagine a circle being 360 degrees, this cups the handlebar, excuse my hand in the frame, this cups the handlebar by 260 of those degrees, and then you only have a 100-degree plate here. And what that's for is to, especially with carbon bars, it prevents any type of stress riser on the bar. So it's just the bar is cradled in there very, very nicely. And actually, I don't know any other stem manufacturer that does that, right? They're the only ones.
I don't think anyone else does it.
Yeah. And the thing that Sean was talking about is because of this 260-degree cradle, when you put a bar through here, you literally have to like put it from here, wrap the stem around like this, and then it finally comes this way. So yeah, very hard for in the field. Obviously, you'd have to remove the bar tape, all this stuff. So All right, so this is a 130 stem you were saying just before we went on air.
Yep.
130. Now, we're going to talk about your racing history on our podcast later, but bike racers like long stems. And it's very hard for me when I have people that I'm bike fitting in the store to move them away from the 80 stem they came in. So can you share with me anyway why you, as a bike racer, like a longer stem?
So over the years, I mean, some of it's not so much tradition, but depends on when you start, time frame chronologically.
Yep.
Who helped you start out? And
Yep.
I've been racing my bike since the late 80s.
Yep.
And positioning was a bit different then.
Yeah.
So I'm still fairly close to how I sort of used to be.
Yep.
But on this particular frame size and their geometry, I would normally with a 54 centimeter top tube run maybe a 120 stem, but
Yep.
the reach on this bike's a little bit different than some
Yep.
of my other ones.
Yep.
And so I had to put the 130 on it if I want my seat set back properly.
Right.
So my seat setback is like all my other bikes, except for where do I end up lengthwise, what I like to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I could easily run a 120, but with the right height of the bar and the length, it takes all the pressure off your hands.
Yeah.
If you watch World Tour guys, they're not riding 10, 12, 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
They can have their arms straight down and be aerodynamic.
Yeah, the bar is below their knees if you know what I'm talking about.
And that's okay. But for me, I run my hoods high.
Yep.
And all of that is just based on being as square on the bike as possible
Yeah.
and not pointed at the ground to get pressure off.
So and maybe I'll lead you a little bit with this one because I find that a longer stem just makes the bike handle so much more predictable and not as sketchy.
Exactly.
And I just want to hear if that's what you find.
No, I totally agree with that. And the other thing that anybody who gets into trying to find the right bike fit and you're trying to help them, a slam stem is the worst for handling.
Yeah.
If you raise your stem, that's what this stack is here.
Yep, yep.
So I have this is just an aluminum one for testing.
Yep.
But that height in there is what I'm playing with, and just that 2 millimeter spacer makes a big difference in how reactive my frame is.
And you've got a little bit up here.
There's a little bit. There's not much inside there,
Yeah.
but there's a little bit there to mess with too. That for the race will be up all the way.
Yeah, yeah.
I won't have it. This bike is a little high now. I think the time we bumped into each other on the road,
Yep.
my Colnago was pretty aggressive.
Yep.
I can't even ride that bike anymore.
Wow.
So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're also going to talk about some length of rides, but in case people don't watch the other podcast, all right, so you've mentioned to me that you did a 50-hour week
Yep.
and you've got a 60-hour week coming up. Give us some indication of how much of that is trainer time, how much of that is on the road time on a week.
Yeah. So right now, the 50-hour week and a 60-hour week, that's all on the road.
Okay.
So have to use vacation time and do the appropriate training
Yep.
that my coach wants to do.
Yep.
And during the week, the supplement of that is a lot of intervals and hard work on the trainer correlates to my endurance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and I hope we capture this on the podcast as well. What does your coach have planned for you as your longest on the road ride before, and when do you launch out? June what?
June 10.
June 10th.
Yep.
What does he have already, like, hey, and we're going to do a 18-hour ride, or
Right.
does he have anything like that?
I don't have anything that individually long,
Yeah.
but it's all day after day after day after day.
Yeah, cumulative
So the 60,
fatigue.
the 50 and the 60, the 50 had some variance up to like over a 10-hour ride, but
Yeah.
that was the max.
Yeah.
The 60-hour ride is
The 60-hour week.
a 60-hour week, sorry, is very, very close to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Except for a couple bookends of like a little bit of a build, a little bit of a taper.
Recovery or something.
Yeah, so which I think is just a 8-hour day at each end.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Just an 8-hour day.
Yeah, well, I had 8.5 hour day yesterday.
Well, because a lot of my viewers, the demographics are like 50 plus, 60 plus, and so they're not doing 8-hour training rides anymore. So just 8 hours is a big ride.
I didn't think I would.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Let's dig down a little bit more because my viewers are pretty fascinated with gearing choices and things like that. So let's talk about what you got here. This is going to be your primary bike, and it's funny because when I used to do my 500 milers in the early 2000s, and people would make fun of me because I had an 1127 Dura-Ace cassette, and of course that was the biggest
that
cassette
was
available
big back then.
Yeah, and they were all riding 1123s and 25s, and I was like, "What are you doing with that 1127? That dinner plate?"
Yeah.
But the thing is, I would tell them, 300, 400 miles into one of my races, a 6% grade feels like 8,
Yeah.
So let's talk about your gearing with that foundation. What do you got going on here?
So this set of wheels will be my climbing wheels,
Yep.
or I am extremely tired and can't move my bike uphill at all, regardless of the hill.
Yes, because we have another set of wheels that we're going to talk about here in a second.
Yeah. So this is a 1036.
Yep.
With a 35 48, and
Okay.
I used to be a Shimano guy. I
Yep.
would have to say I probably still am.
Yep.
Gearing wise.
Yes.
But I'm learning the advantages to why SRAM does this.
Yeah.
And if you can sort of pick a niche path to go down, like endurance riding, climbing,
Yep.
low speed, and stay away from criteriums and real racing,
Yep.
the gear ranges on this are a lot better. So, and I would like a little more than or close to 1-to-1 for climbing.
So 35 front
Yeah.
and then 36 rear. So
Yep.
you're there
Yep.
with a better than 1-to-1. Just before we went on air, you talked about how you need this derailleur to get your, so this is what, a 1036?
Exactly.
Okay, you need this derailleur to get a good chain gap, or whatever they call it, from the top pulley to this large cassette, because otherwise it was only a 1033 compatibility, right, with the previous.
Exactly, and that's why in the previous generations of the SRAM, the pros were maybe a bit put off because they didn't offer bigger chainring choices.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they decided to add, I think, like 3 extra sets of these rings that go
Yeah.
up and up, and
Yeah.
then the pros end up riding this cassette so they can get closer to the like standard sort of
Well,
gearing.
yeah, the Shimano that
Yeah,
they're used to
exactly.
for forever.
Yep.
You mentioned that this is a new power meter chainring setup. Can you explain that? Because I don't know that.
So this
the
is just
viewers
the
will know.
latest. This is the latest version of Access.
Yep.
Or ETAP, or
Yeah, yeah.
whatever people are used to.
Yep.
And so this is just the newer carbon cranks with the power meter built into it. I actually had the first gen, not the non-power meter, and I'd have to say that the weights were very close.
Yeah.
This one is so much lighter that it almost makes up for not having a power. The balance was very close between the first generation and the second. And you can tell by the graphics on the crank
Yeah.
arm and sort of the UD weave what version you have, and the black chain rings are a bit different.
Yeah.
as
So
well.
the first gen, you had the power meter was integrated into the chain rings. I'm having
Same as
trouble
that.
discerning here. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you still get a.
It's all the same.
It's all okay.
Yeah,
That part's
exactly.
still the
It's
same.
all that part's all the same.
And you would say, wow, you're a bike shop owner. How come you don't know this? Well, because I don't sell SRAM.
Right. And I had to do a lot of research myself.
Yeah.
Just like we talked about earlier, this snowballed from cables. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I've now got it. I've now got the bike in a good spot. And my spare bike will have the same group set.
Yep.
If I need to pluck some parts off of it,
Yeah.
it's easy to do.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's easy in the sense that there's no wiring. So boom, pop this guy off, sync it, and then boom. you're ready to
Exactly.
go.
And the thing that's really nice too, my spare bike will have the same levers.
Yeah.
As long as I have a brand new brake cable, you can leave the clamp on the lever,
Yeah.
fish a new brake line through, and all you're doing is sliding a lever on. You don't have to worry about shift cables inside your tape.
Yeah.
So it just makes it easier if I need to have them work on my bike, my
and
team.
Before we went on air, you were talking about that this is the only, or you don't have any round tube, round seat tube.
Yes, that was
bikes.
another. So I have some other bikes, and all of them are incompatible seat post wise.
Right.
And for the race, I plan on using 3, maybe 4 different saddle choices.
Yep.
And I would just like to move that stuff around if need be.
Oh, so you just boom, pull
Exactly.
this out,
So,
put another saddle in.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, gotcha.
And so my spare bike, though, is a little bit different. The seat positioning, I'll get them all positioned for this bike.
Yeah.
Put them in that bike.
Yeah.
I won't care about too much position offset on that.
Yeah.
And they'll be ready for this because I have an infinity seat to potentially
Yeah,
ride.
you know, I saw that on one of your Strava posts.
I did. I
saw
put that on a Strava post.
Yeah, yeah.
Not quite dialed in with that yet.
Yeah.
It's a unique saddle. I mean, even these are 13-year-old seats I have to find.
Yeah, I used to ride these.
Yeah.
I used to ride these, and actually on my TT bike, I had the Arion.
It is a very good, flat, comfy saddle.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk wheels for a minute, so people don't glaze over yet. We're almost done. So we have this right here, and this is what's called a super team. And you said there's a couple of versions, or is there only?
There's a couple versions. So essentially, the wheels are the same rim brake again. So
Yep.
you're going down a bit of a rabbit hole, but
Yep.
they make it a sort of a standard version of this wheel without the wavy sort
Without
of rim
the
profiles.
scalloping, or
Yeah, and the spokes on these are, I think, 5 millimeters wide.
Yeah, these are some fat
The
ones.
regular wheel set are 3 millimeters. So, and these are 21/21 front and rear.
Yep.
The standard wheels have less spokes
Yep.
in the front, but these are very, very stiff. It's a very stiff wheel set.
Now, also before we went on air, you said how good these are in crosswinds, and they're how many millimeters?
It says they're 50. I'm not exactly sure if that's like the higher point of the
Yeah.
rim.
Yeah.
Visually, I didn't measure them.
Yeah.
Visually, they appear a little lower
They
than the standard ones that I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, the scalloping in the wheel has made these incredible in crosswinds, and I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. A rim brake person doesn't have some of the extra wind profiling where
Yeah.
a disc brake grabs the wind as well.
Yeah.
So these are very good, but these were designed after disc brake wheels. That's why there's
Yeah,
two extra
cross.
spokes on one side.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So do you plan on riding this wheel as a primary wheel
Yes.
set? All right,
Yes,
yeah.
those will be my primary wheels. They're not in a price range where something terrible happens. It will be
a huge loss.
yeah, exactly. They're not a $5,000-$6,000 set of custom wheels or anything.
And also, before we went on air, you said, "Wow, I really would have liked a Zip 454 wheel set."
Exactly.
But too much even in the used market, right?
Yeah, it's those on eBay. A lot of people know what they have, and rim brake people are struggling to find what they need.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in that that slot
And that platform,
yeah,
yeah.
and so the price range you sort of.
Yeah. How have you been getting on with these brake hoods? I sometimes struggle with different companies' brake hoods. I do like the Shimano, the way it fits my hand, but you know, it's just a personal choice. You're getting on okay?
So years ago, I rode for SoCal Cycling. That
Yeah.
was, I don't remember the years,
Yeah.
but a few generations ago. We all had rim brakes, so that's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
We had SRAM, and I was used to it at that time, and then went back to Dura-Ace after that. And I've been on Shimano brake hoods for years.
Yeah.
They fit my hand as well fine. They're comfortable.
Yeah.
There's enough of a pocket where you can move around, and
Yeah.
they're really good without gloves.
Yes.
So I don't like to wear thick gloves. That's why I double wrap my tape.
Yeah.
these brake levers are very squared off,
Yep.
and that part is a bit of a struggle so far.
Yeah.
If I can get those guts inside of a Shimano brake lever, I'll be good. But those are just finite things over 10, 12-hour rides.
Yeah.
You start to find out what hurts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So yes, not getting on super.
Now I know that my viewers are going to ask. So any ideas what this bike is weighing in at?
I did weigh it with one layer of handlebar tape, the regular cassette, and the way that it's built, and I probably have a picture on my phone somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think it was 13.7.
Yeah.
Right at 14 pounds.
Yeah.
With these wheels on it. These wheels are very light, and
Yeah.
I use TPU tubes.
Ah, yeah,
So-
I was going to ask you about that as well. Now, one thing you demoed for me just before we went live is the balancing of these wheels. Now, Fulcrum is, as some people know, they're very, they're like the Campagnolo for everyone else. So can you do that demo again?
can,
Because it was
yeah.
just so wonderful to see.
Yeah, and that's the reason I chose these wheels. I have the aluminum set of these as well.
Yeah.
I won't use them in the race. These wheels make up for everything in how smooth they are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're really good.
Yeah, so see, there's no bounce, there's no vibration in the frame. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, they run really well.
Yeah.
The speed that comes from these, just from how smooth the wheels are,
Yeah.
is a real selling point.
Yeah.
And their disc brake version is exactly the same.
Nice.
They just find a way to balance the wheel for the.
They look to be only about 25 mil. What are they? 30 mil?
These tires are 26s.
26.
Yeah,
No,
and then-
I meant the depth.
Oh, I think they call them 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're running 26 then, you said?
Yeah, 26 millimeter. On these wheels, I run 26. I've had 28s on them, like these.
Yeah.
And it's a little too balloony for the rim width.
Yeah.
Whereas these are a little wider rim, and with low air pressure in a skinnier rim, it's not ideal. So the 26 is fine on the. I can put anything on these. I had 28s.
Yeah.
They just climb better with 26s.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so 26. You weigh about what? 150?
I wish that'd be great. By the start of the race.
Oh.
So when I'm light right now, I'm 155. When I'm heavy, I'm around 160.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So let's call it 160 for easier math
Mm-hmm.
for some folks. What tire pressure you running?
On these wheels, I'll probably run 70/70.
Okay.
Or very close to that.
Yep.
And I might run a little bit lower, 68.
Yeah, because
60
these are 28s. You
Yeah,
said.
exactly. 68 in these, and
You were going for the flushness, right? Is that why?
no,
you went
not
with
at all.
28?
No,
Oh, okay.
I just wanted something more compliant.
Okay.
I don't care about aerodynamics,
Well,
and there's nothing on
until
my.
you get on your TT bike.
When I get on my TT bike, we
Yeah,
bumped
that
into
thing
it.
is amazing.
My TT bike is very relaxed.
Yeah.
Not relaxed. Yeah, I guess relaxed. It's not
Comfortable.
aggressive. It's comfortable, and it's just, it's very good. It's a very fast road bike with aero bars, is like
Yeah.
I call it. But on my road bike, my handlebars are 44s.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's an oddity all by itself now.
It sure is. Yeah.
So, and there's a reason for that as well. So if you have clip-ons and you do endurance riding,
yeah.
the padding or where the risers usually are get in the way.
Yeah.
And if you still want to have your hands comfortably on the tops inside handlebar tape,
Yeah.
you got to have some width to your bars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, let's just very briefly, your TT bike. There was something you said to me over the phone. You said something like, at X speed, I'm about 50 watts less effort. What was it that you said between your road and your TT
I did.
bike?
I don't really know whether or not it was watts. I might not remember exactly anymore.
Okay.
But when I'm
Effort-wise.
like effort-wise, my TT bike in the desert has
Yeah.
proven to be 3 to 5 miles an hour for me, just faster in general.
For the same effort.
It seems like a lot. The roads are challenging out there, but the same effort, it's, say, I'm in kilometers, but 5 to 8 kilometers an hour, it rolls into that quite a bit easier. So, and nothing on that bike is super duper state of the art. And it's old as well.
And is that who makes that one?
That's a Trek Speed Concept.
Okay.
That was the first year they went from an Equinox to a Speed Concept. And those were the years that Lance came back from retirement. And they did all the special edition bikes for him at the Tour de France. So I have one, that's what that bike is.
And that bike is going to be running 808s?
I have 808s on that bike. Zip Cognition 808s.
So that's 82 millimeters, something like that?
They're about 80.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that bike will run 26s. I can't get 28s in it. It's too old for a 28. So,
Well, good. Okay, so let's get inside because unbelievable weather we're having here. It's just been kind of wet and just kind of chilly. But let's get inside. Let's have a sit down and let's talk more about training and things like that. And for everyone else, please like and subscribe. And please look out for that video of Sean and I doing a lot more talking about his training and what's coming up for him. All right, please like and subscribe. We'll see you up the road.